Hey everybody, it's Frankie-Lou coming to you today from inside the greenhouse in the sky, our 4-season geothermal greenhouse here in the Canadian Rocky Mountains. And I wanted to give you a bit of a July tour. We started planting here in the greenhouse last May, so we've had a full year. We've had a lot of learnings about how to work with this type of space and with the very unique Zone 3 climate conditions that we have here. I just want to show you some of the things that we've learned and how we're implementing them, some of the improvements that we're starting to do. There will be more detailed technical ones later, but this is more of a garden tour and how we're dealing with things and also how well things are going here in the greenhouse. We're really pleased with how the space is working. I currently have the fans turned off. Normally you would be hearing the air circulating through here from down below in our climate battery, but I've got it turned off so you can hear what I have to say today. As you can see, we have a lot growing. We're actually just at the cusp of completely emptying 2 beds, completely harvesting 2 beds to replant so that we can get through to another season before the colder weather hits. And we're also going to be filling 2 more beds. So I thought this is a good time to do this tour. It is the early parts of July. And we're going to have 4 new beds in here in the next couple of weeks. I thought this was a good chance to show you some before and afters. We did plant most of the beds that you're seeing here. Were planted up in March, so it is time to harvest a lot of this stuff. Some of it can continue, but there's a very complex crop rotation system that I've got going on here. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later so that we can ensure that we maintain the health of the soil in here. We are planting primarily using permaculture or eco-gardening techniques. We're avoiding the uses of any pesticide and herbicide and trying to make use of things like interplanting and companion planting as much as possible to assist us with keeping this space viable and also create a habitat for a very diverse group of insects and animals that use the space as well. And they're an integral part of how we keep the space healthy. So before I take you down and talk more about some of the details, you might know some structural things here. We tried to upcycle as much as possible in the building of this greenhouse, and that has really been a huge benefit. These raised beds that you see here, there's 6 of these large raised beds in the middle, and then a perimeter beds are made out of guardrails, upcycled guardrails, scrap metal from the Trans-Canada Highway. So they've been amazing. They're so solid, obviously. We're able to implement a lot of structural stuff for helping with our vertical growth because we have this solid base that we're using here. And it makes it so much easier to fasten on some of our vertical climbing structures that we use. We're trying to make the most use of a space as possible and encouraging most of our plants to grow upward to take advantage of this wonderful light. That vertical growth also makes it way easier for the pollinators to get at all of our wonderful flowers in here. And it also helps us with the airflow. Airflow has not been an issue this year. We've really done some tweakings with the system. Last year, I will say we did have a bit of an over-humidity problem, but having these 2 garage doors open on either side that we can have a breeze through here. We have windows that open throughout as well, releasing some of the air. And we've actually found that we've been able to do some of our drying. You'll notice here that I have a lot of the stuff that I've harvested is drying. We do it right at we're not having an issue with over humidity here. We're really loving that. Structurally, you might notice that we have these wonderful struts holding our balloon roof. I call it our big beautiful balloon. Okay, and it's 2 layers of polycarbonate fan running between just to keep it popped up, and it's been amazing. It gives a little bit of a diffused light, which has actually been good because honestly here in Golden in the mountains, that light can get pretty intense at times, and this has been wonderful. We don't ever have any problems with leaf burn. And another thing, it's been wonderful being able to actually occasionally tie stuff all the way up to the roof because some of, I don't know if you can see, some of those tomatoes are reaching for it, and so is the corn down there at the other end. And so having this height has been really good for us. We also have grapes going up here. We've got fig trees that are coming along nicely. We've got an avocado tree that's coming along nicely. So having all this height has been really beneficial, and we're hoping will continue to be. The reason it is so high is because basically we've built this with two large refrigerated reefers. One's mostly subterranean and is buried underground with the huge climate battery that we have down here. There's over 4,000 feet in several layers of piping that's running underneath the soil here, and it's pumping that air that's down below into this space. It's a cool day today, but often, like earlier this week, it was 35 degrees. It was actually cooler in here than it was outside. And I know that's hard for people to believe, but the reason for that is we're finding that the air coming from down below is a pretty consistent year round. The coldest it ever got was like 8 or 9 degrees, and it usually won't go more than 15. So that's a pretty tight, nice little margin. And so right now it's probably coming up from the ground at about 14 degrees, which is cooling in here, which is what we want. We don't want it to reach the temperatures in here. We don't want them to reach an excess of say 27, 28 degrees. So we can usually keep it that way as long as we keep that airflow going, especially when we have the breeze through going as well. And it creates a nice air current through here as well. I know that a lot of times in greenhouses you can have an issue with your plants not being very strong because they're not being challenged with any of the wind currents and stuff. We don't have that issue in here. These plants are nice and sturdy because there is a pretty constant flow of air, and just that little bit of just that little bit of breeze really does help to keep the plants nice and sturdy. That's probably enough chatting about up here right now. So let me take you down inside and I'll show you a few more details about the planting. As always, please do feel free to send questions. We want to be sure that this beautiful plant palace is running at optimum levels before we start sharing how some of the more technical aspects of this is done, so you don't have to tweak yourself. I'm going to take you down now. One of the things that we're trying to do is create as sustainable a system as possible here. Therefore, we're doing a lot of seed saving because that's a really key element about self-sustainability, is not just producing wonderful food that you're going to eat immediately, but also preparing for future crops. And we're doing that constantly here. There's two major crops that we're growing right here that we're allowing to go to seed. This here is some wonderful carrot that we planted last May. And it's now, I've been harvesting, like I literally have harvested bags and bags and bags of carrot seeds from 5 carrots that I let go to seed. It really is truly remarkable how much seed you can get from one plant that you allow to go to seed properly. It's something that I'm always trying to teach about. But the carrots really do blow me away. It's the first time I've been able to do this because I grow in a zone 3 climate here in Golden and also at my other homestead in Springbank. And carrots don't overwinter, but they do overwinter here really, really well. So we're going to have a ton of carrot seeds that we can share with our family and friends, and then ensure that we'll have healthy carrot harvest going on here perpetually. It is a biannual, so you have to let it overwinter, and it produces seeds in the second year, which it's down here for us. The other one that is almost ready to harvest is our beet seeds. I cannot get over how many seeds these produce because I've never been able to do that before either. They've always rotted in the ground in the winter when I've attempted it. But here in the greenhouse, we're going to get thousands and thousands and thousands of beet seeds. So that's what's going on here. So this was a bed, and in the background there, you might be able to see that tall one. That's orash, which is another one of my favorite. Orash is another one of my homestead favorite plants. Great for hardy winter crops, but it did excellent in here as well. And I'm going to be able to save a ton of seed to that. They're making excellent structures for us for our vertical growth, and they're very easy to install. We just put a concrete pin in the end of it and dropped it down into the holes that were on the corners of our guardrail beds. Works great. It's so structurally sound. Here we have our beautiful tomato bed. Our tomatoes have done amazing in here, and honestly, like, I'm gonna be very busy, which I want to be. We do companion planting in every single one of our beds. each of the 6 crops that we're rotating through these beds to ensure that the soil is healthy and that we're not over pulling or over putting anything into the soil by you doing repeated plantings of the same plants in the same area, it's like each of these is a series of companion plants that we're growing. So with the tomatoes, what we tended to do is we planted a garlic bed in here with orash in the fall. And then once the orash was ripe, we pulled it out and then we put tomatoes in because they do really well with the garlic. The garlic is just about ready to harvest, and so that's a great companion for tomatoes. And we also have lettuce and basil and all sorts of other herbs and nasturtiums growing in here as well. And we're not having any issues with pollination. In fact, one of my favorite pollinating buddies just showed up. Hopefully he'll come on camera. We get birds in here, and there's 2 types of birds in particular that love it in here and treat it as their little territory. I get in trouble from them sometimes. One of them is my little hummingbird buddy who just came in and is hanging out at the squash bed down there right now. And we also get little juncos in here who help us with some of our pests. The only 2 beds that are going to be standing as they are in the next 2 weeks are the tomato bed and the squash bed, because those are going to keep pumping out. The other 4 rotating beds are going to have whole new crops in it starting in the next 2 weeks or so. I'm going to take you over to the squash bed. It's pretty cool. Okay, this is my beautiful squash bed. I absolutely love this bed. We did another squash bed last year, so this is the one from this year. The amount of food that we got out of these beds is ridiculous. With the 2 squash plants, we did a spaghetti squash battle. You might have seen. We got over 120 pounds of produce from 2 plants. Now, in here right now, I've got it very densely planted with corn. We're going to have a lot of corn this year. It's coming along really well. I planted a form of scarlet runner that's peach colored, and it's wonderful. The hummingbirds love it for some reason. That's the one that the hummingbirds, they seem to like it even more than the red scarlet runners. We've got some lettuces that are growing here, and I'm allowing to bolt and gold seed. They've already fed us and the chickens quite a bit, but now we're going to let them go to seed. We have a whole lot of various squash growing out in here, including tromboncino, Hubbard, gold nugget, spaghetti squash. Even with just the beans and the various greens that we've managed to harvest from here so far, we've already got pounds and pounds and pounds of food. And I'm sure that once the squash is coming on, we're going to get over 500 pounds of food from this one bed alone. Okay, so this is one of the benefits of the companion planting that we're finding here. The pollinators love it, comes in, ensuring our fruiting crops are getting pollinated by having all these wonderful flowers in here. There's tons of nasturtiums growing here as well as the scarlet runner beans. We eat the nasturtiums, we eat both the flowers and the seeds as a pickled caper that I really love to make. And then we get, we obviously get a lot of beans off here as well. So this is a good feeding crop. It's a traditional companion plant combo that's been used for millennia by the first peoples of our nation here, and it's a good idea. It works well. I would never plant corn or beans or squash on their own after doing this. I've been doing it for a few years now, and it works great. So if you're looking, we're ensuring that we're going to get a crop. Even if I do, like, let's say my corn doesn't come up, it's okay, because I still know I'm going to get some beans and I'm going to get some squash from here. That's another reason to consider the companion planting combos, because you're building resilience into your crops, just in case there is a crop failure, because that does happen every once in a while. Okay, I'm going to take you over to the permanent section. Okay, so here I brought you to the perimeter, which we have opted to this year to plant primarily with perennial plants that we're going to keep going year round, and our herbs. Last year we planted a whole lot of crops around the perimeter here that were just primarily to be harvested after one season, and we found that caused a lot of light blockage. This whole perimeter is going to get the most light during the winter, so what we've done is we've planted things along the perimeter now that are more permanent. So for instance, this beautiful plant, oh, I wish you could smell this. This is lemon verbena. This overwintered. It grew throughout the winter, and I have been cropping it mercilessly, and it just keeps coming up, and it's doing well. We've got a pomegranate tree here. You can see this large fig that's doing well here. We've got all sorts of herbs, and that's the sorts of things that we're planting along the outside. We've got some citrus trees, we've got grapes, peppers we are still doing along the perimeter because peppers are perennial, not normally in zone 3, but under these conditions we are hoping to be able to, now that we've got the humidity issues sorted out, we're hoping to be able to get those peppers to continue growing year round. Okay, and this is our little mad scientist thing, but it works great. Okay, this is part of our how we get the climate battery to function, to get everything circulating through here, getting that wonderful consistent air from down below that keeps a nice temperature circulating through the whole place. So this pipe here has all these little conduits and I've got it turned off. Normally you would see and feel and hear all the air coming out through these various things. But also another interesting thing we did, and we're really happy with the results, and we're certainly going to continue to do and share plans with, is we don't just pump air through the air. We actually pump air in through these soil beds as well. And with that, we found that the soil last year never went below 6 degrees Celsius. While it was minus 20, minus 30 outside, we were able to keep the soil nice and warm itself, which meant that the air stays warm because soil maintains, it's that part of that whole thermal mass theory. If you keep soil warm, it's going to hold onto that temperature much better than the air would. So by maintaining a nice consistent heat in the soil, we've had really good results. So we don't just run the piping down below the floor, we actually run the piping through the individual beds itself. It's been a huge wonderful thing for us, and we're obviously going to continue doing it because it works, right? So this might not be the prettiest thing to look at, but this is the second reefer. As you can see, we've got one mostly below ground and one completely above ground, and we've actually built another floor on top of that. These are all going to become growing spaces as well. Right now we're focusing on the main area here, but in between these two reefers, there's a space probably about 2 feet or so, which we're putting lighting on and fans going so that we'll be able to grow microgreens under there. Because we don't want to waste any space in this. This is such a magnificent plant palace, as I call it, the greenhouse in the sky, that we want to make the most of it. We want to be able to implement as many and try and test and teach with as many different techniques as possible. So yes, that all in there is going to become growing space. It currently is growing space. I start a lot of seedlings underneath there just where they get enough light, but we'll be able to grow all the way back in there with the lights that we're putting in there and with the fans that we'll have going. And we're going to have a irrigation system in there as well. So kind of excited about getting that implemented, but we're focusing on this part first. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to build a catwalk above that space so we can do vertical growth against that wall. We're doing a lot of solar capture, passive solar capture. That wall, we know, will work as a wonderful vertical growing space because that's where the most light is right against that back wall there. So as we get those things tweaked and perfected and engineered out, we'll share them with you. Okay. Oh, do you see my little buddy? See, that was my little hummingbird friend here. This place is really a dream come true for me. I get to work in here with the plants and all my wonderful little pollinator buddies. If you're interested in any of those details about the different types of pollinators that we have working here naturally, there's tons of videos on the channel about that. And I'd like to think that we created this as a biodiverse space, not just for human and plant use, but for the wonderful allies that we have in nature to live, who coexist here with us year round. And couldn't be happier. There's always challenges. That's what makes life fun anyways. And as I said, we will share with you as we tweak these systems. Please don't hesitate to ask questions in the meantime. And as always, I hope you'll take this chance to grow together today. Have a good one.